All right, there we go. Hello, everybody who jumped in super fast. I can already see chat is filling up. This is episode 3 of the Dreamcast, and I have a very, very special guest, the one, the only AlphaOmegaSin.
Thank you for that introduction. And also, it is blistering fucking hot, and I'm just glad it's not storming because I kept on thinking it's going to be fun doing this, and then I have a power outage, so I'm glad that shit is happening.
The challenges of the internet. It's so fun to talk to you. You are literally one of my biggest inspirations for why I started doing my rant videos back in the day, is because it was the first time I ever saw the dude just throw up a camera, stand in front of his game collection, and talk. So I have to say, I have eternal respect for you, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
No, it's I mean, I'm an opinionated fuck with I don't know, a decent internet connection. That's primarily the easiest way that I can explain the channel. It's always weird to think that if you make content that anybody out there is interested, let alone inspired by it, and that always kind of fucks me up. I'm just man, I don't know, I just never put those two together, and I wonder if there might be fireworks going off at some point. So
yeah, I'm here in Texas. I'm sure at some point people are going to just start firing guns in the air. So if you hear any pops, it's on one of our side.
I was going to say, well, in Texas, it's people are firing them into the air. In my old neighborhood, people were just firing them past houses and stuff. So it was, I'm glad I moved here. So that's a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. Ooh, Rex the Great in chat, and happy console gamer. Thanks to y'all for watching. Well, the main reason I really wanted to have AlphaOmegaSin on here is because he is the only man I know who is obsessed as much as I am with Final Fantasy VII. So I just wanted us to be able to geek out about Final Fantasy VII in general and the remake. So I watched your video. You are just so hyped. I mean, it is crazy that we actually live in an era where this is finally actually coming out. Did you grew up with Final Fantasy VII, right?
Yeah, dude, that game, I mean, we're the same age, so it's something that we've actually had this since our childhood, essentially. And now, we'll be seeing this shit next year. So all these years later, and it, despite all things, there's a lot of people kind of misconstrue the entire idea of just geeking out about this shit. Well, it's not the best game ever. I already know it's a flawed fucking game, and it's very far from perfect. I just don't care because it changed gaming for me.
Yeah.
It changed the entire, not even just for me, it changed gaming just in general. Shit blew up in an entirely different way. You saw suddenly JRPGs were this big fucking phenomenon that everybody was into. Cinematics were kind of a requirement. If you were putting out a game and you didn't have CG cutscenes, people were like, man, these motherfuckers must be broke. Man, that sucks.
That era is funny because if you grab literally any PS1 game, on the back a lot of times it'll say 12 minutes of cutscenes and stuff like that. That was a requirement.
Dude,
after Final Fantasy.
It was an actual selling point after a while. And it's weird because one of the things I always go back to with it is, and we didn't see this much at all, and nowadays it's very different, but they were advertising Final Fantasy VII strictly with the actual CG cutscenes, and they were doing this shit in movie theaters. So you'd go see a movie and stuff. In '97, I have no idea what you were going to see, but up on the big silver screen, all of a sudden, you see Sephiroth and some fire. You see the shots of Midgar and everything. You see Cloud on the bike, and you're just holy fuck, that's a game. I need this. Right. I need this right now. And I remember keep in mind, we didn't see stuff like that before,
They had a really mysterious trailer they would drop sometimes in commercial breaks, which was the meteor after they blew up the rocket in it. So you'd see the meteor piecing itself back together, and then it would just say Final Fantasy VII, and you don't know what any of that means. You're I've never heard the 7th sequel of this series. I love that.
It's probably one of those rare exceptions for a lot of us, because it's people don't want to jump in on a sequel that is that far along into a franchise without knowing what happened before then, because it's kind of one of those things where oh, that's shaky ground. I want to know what happened before that. But, what did we have before that? We had Final Fantasy, then we had Final Fantasy IV, then we had 6, and then it's 7. But for us, it's 1, 2, 3, and then all of a sudden 7. And continuity aside, people didn't give a shit. To them, they're just oh, it's so epic, I need to have it. And The rest is history.
It's funny to think about how important the visuals really were as a selling point. So if you go back, like I went back after I graduated high school, I went back and beat Final Fantasies 1 through 6 sequentially, and it was really weird seeing the trends and things they learned in 4, 5, and 6. It really kind of introduced the steampunk themes. It killed off main characters. Like they sort of already had all the Legos of what would become Final Fantasy VII before 7 came out. But 7 really blew up because it finally had this package to sell it. It finally had this this visual conversation.
Which was your first Final Fantasy that you actually played through?
So the first one I ever played was 4, but not very long. I knew a rich dude who had it, so I played his copy a tiny bit. But the first one I ever sat down and beat was 7.
Okay. See, it's like my friends, my friend Sean, he had RPG everything.
Mm-hmm.
He even had access to Phantasy Star 4, which brand new at the time. And he was poor, but he borrowed it, again, like you just mentioned, off a rich kid.
Yep.
So that was probably some of my earlier introductions into role-playing games was during the 16-bit era. I didn't really play them during NES days or anything like that. But, dude, 7 was just... I mean, the PlayStation 1 in general was a game changer, but FF7 was pretty much just all right, give us all the fucking RPGs you can. And it's just I'll take Breath of Fire. Oh, what's this? Legend Dragoon? Of course I want some of that Grandiate. Yeah, I may okay with that. Here? Yeah, dude. And it's weird to think that FF7 originally, that shit started on Nintendo 64, and then Squaresoft was like, yeah, we can't fucking do this, guy. It's the game's gonna cost us $1,000 to sell, so no, we can't. And we had that little tech demo where they took the characters from FF6, they did them up on there, and that's that footage is still out there.
Yeah.
And it still blows my mind. I'm like, oh my god, even after if you look at N64 from the time it began to when it ended, that tech demo still looks a million times better than a lot of the shit that got released.
Kotaku did some interview where they found the guy who actually edited that video together, and he said that there was all this extra stuff they wanted to render, like them being in a forest and stuff, and it was just impossible. The hardware was so limited back then that they really just could make all right, they're floating on a big empty void. Hold on a second, let me read. We just got a $2 Canadian super chat from Happy Console Gamer and said Final Fantasy 13 is the best, guys. It's weird that you could just lie in a super chat.
Fuck you, John. How dare you say that? You bastard. Evil.
Yeah. It's I'm super excited for the remake, mostly because the way we got to grow up with it, the way we got to have this crazy, cool, unique adult game. I'm excited for that. I'm excited that another generation is going to have that. There are kids who are going to grow up and only know the remake. That's so cool to me.
I think that it's interesting because you've got a lot of the people who grew up with the game now, obviously old enough to even have their own kids that they can introduce to this game. And it's almost like a passing of the torch, but FF7 is still readily available on current gen consoles, on PC and shit. So it's even kids who, and just people who are younger in general that may not have experienced it back in the day, we got to swapping out discs and all that shit, can actually go back, rediscover it, play it, see what all the hubbub's about, and then when the remake comes out, get to appreciate it because you get to see the evolution of it. Here's where it started, this is what it became, and if you get to dive into things like Crisis Core, for example, in between, just little stepping stone.
You actually bring up an important question, though, that a lot of people in the Final Fantasy community are asking, which is, do you think that they're going to try and roll together the extended universe story? Because a lot of people are theorizing that the first game, Final Fantasy VII Part 1 Midgar, is what the rumor is going to be called. Some people are thinking that they're going to combine a bunch of extended flashbacks from Crisis Core. So we'll have at least 10% of the Crisis Core story in this. If they do that, is that a good thing? Do you think that's a bad thing?
I can see it happening. It's weird because I had seen a lot of people just kind of assuming that there isn't going to be much to this. And I'm no, I don't think what your understanding is that they plan on blowing this up in a massive way. And I think what we'll be seeing is we'll see a lot more with the Turks. We'll see a lot more with Shinra. We'll get a lot more background with characters like Tifa and Eris and Barrett and stuff. And one of the things that I can almost guarantee is that we'll see a lot more with Avalanche.
Yeah.
Because like they showed a lot of cutscenes with Jesse, for example. They showed off scenes that we had never seen before, like little interactions and dialogue and like set pieces that they weren't there originally.
He talked to Sephiroth. That's the crazy that like blew my mind when you see Sephiroth actually like walking out and talking to Cloud in Midgar. It's like, what? Oh, this is a new game.
Yeah, I think with that, I think that they're going to be like diving a bit deeper into Cloud's like psychosis. Like his mental state is all over the place. And I think that that'll be one of the things that they tap into is just how he's kind of like coping with a bunch of things and he's all messed up. Because I know that they had that one scene where it was like those little black figures that were like flying around him.
Yeah.
We have no idea what those are. We can just, make assumptions. But I think there's going to be a whole lot that we aren't expecting. And I like that because I want them to build more into this world. Like they've had so many years to be like, that'd be cool to include. Oh, that'd be cool to include. And we've had Advent Children. We've had Crisis Core. We've had Before Crisis, the cell phone game. So you never know. They could include content from that. And most people have never experienced that outside of Japan. So,
man, there's so much stuff like that. It's one of those things where I'm obsessed with Resident Evil. I've beaten all of them probably hundreds of times over. And it's really interesting, like, after seeing the Resident Evil 2 remake be so good and so different, but still a very true to soul remake, it's hard to go back to the original. And I'm hoping that that's what we get in the Final Fantasy VII remake, is that it just improves and expands in different directions. That when I buy it, I'm like, oh, I don't even want to go back to the original.
Probably still going to have a lot of people that will automatically want to dismiss it because it's not an actual straight up turn-based game like the original is. And I can honestly say I have endless, infinite love for turn-based role-playing games. Like if you go and you look at like Final Fantasy X and Persona, well, any of the recent Persona games, really, they've got turn-based and it's snappy, it's quick.
Yep.
And it looks good, it's fun. So obviously, like, they can make it work, but, if they had today's tech back in 1997, we wouldn't have had turn-based RPGs. They would have just, like, gone absolutely apeshit.
That's a good point. And I think a lot of people forget that. It's like they made turn-based combat because of technical limitations. It was not really a conscious choice. It was simulating action combat. So, I mean, that's dead on. I feel like some turn-based combat I wish would come back is one of my favorite RPGs of all time is Grandia 2. And it's one of those games that I think just has some of the best turn-based combat because it does have a more like choice-based flow. You can knock people down. You can stop their spells. I wish we would get some indie games that would use turn-based combat like that. I feel like a lot of indie games that use turn-based combat, it's just really, really basic.
I'm a fan of things like Star Ocean, for example. That it's weird because you're actively moving around, but it's still technically turn-based.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that like you're always in control, and even with things like the Tales series, just in general, and you've got these action-oriented ones, and you brought up Grandia, and Grandia, like your characters actively move around, but not in the same exact way both of those games do. So. But I'd be A-okay with just more Grandia games in general because I love 1 and 2 to absolutely know it. But we're God, do you know when they're coming out on the Switch, or are they already out?
So they have an official statement any day now. They said that it is fully completed. Their official statement is the Grandia HD collection is complete, and we are waiting for Nintendo certification to launch. So it sounds like, from the way it was worded, I honestly think that Nintendo is going to give them a release date because they want it to be successful. So it sounds like we could literally just get it shadow dropped.
Dude, I just want to see those games get more love because, like, one, they've honestly got some of the best, like, actual character development and character writing. Because it's not all just like everybody's super serious all the time. There's lots of humor. And the actual voice acting, one I liked a lot. I know
Yep.
some people get iffy and they're like, "Oh no, I wanted the original like Japanese version and all that, just with like subtitles for me to read." And I don't give a shit because I thought Game Arts knocked out of the park,
Yep.
and they got really good voice actors. They had great translation, and it worked, and it actually still holds up today.
I love the first few Grandia so much. I got them all in Japanese and English. Like I imported all their original versions and stuff, just because it's one of those things that aged remarkably well. I have seen some people complaining they think the HD remake isn't really doing much, but I mean it's Grandia. It's like it's already a 9 out of 10 hot chick. Do we really need her to become a 10 out of 10? I'm happy.
I'm just glad that it's still going to be around because I
Yeah.
mean, games like this have just been left to the original discs, and that's all that you've had
Yep.
for like a long ass time. And well, except for they had the anniversary edition on Steam of
Two.
Grandia 2, which I scooped that shit up quick.
Yes,
Like,
so did I. And the digital version of Grandia 1 on PS3 that you could buy digitally, and they also put it on PS Vita, is really good as well. But it's also one of those super console specific things that's not on current hardware, and that always annoys me is when there's something that would obviously sell, and companies are just like,
dude, PSN, like that's something that's bugged the shit out of me about this gen is that PSN in general has absolutely like PlayStation 1 isn't represented like at all.
Yep.
The shit's like absolutely non-existent, and they keep on doing stuff with PSN on PlayStation 3. I'm like, you do realize eventually your servers aren't going to be around for this. Like, port some of this shit over to current gen. And they haven't. That's why I keep on hoping and like fingers crossed. And there's all these rumors about it. But I just want to see like next gen be like, you know, an absolute like variety hour of every single gen in some kind of shape or form with like representation, because we're missing out on so many different things right now.
So that is one of the rumors. I wanted to get into some PlayStation 5 rumors. Since you haven't had a chance to make a video in a while, I kind of want to run some rumors past you to see what you think of them, since we haven't been able to watch a video of your thoughts on it. One of the rumors going around about PlayStation 5 is that it will have some sort of full-scale backwards compatibility. So it sounds like it'll be able to play every PS4 game. It sounds like it'll be able to play a chunk of PS3, PS2, and PS1. We don't know what it means exactly, but there have been patents and stuff that sort of indicate this. I mean, what are you hoping for? Are you hoping that it'll just be a digital marketplace, or are you hoping that we'll literally just be able to cram discs in it?
I personally just want them to kind of do like physical and digital, because you know, getting a hold of the discs and for anybody that still owns them is all fine and good. But I want this shit to actually continue to live on well past like, you know, the age of disc rot settling in. And not just that, but it's also kind of good for companies to have this stuff made available because they can still make money off of it. They can still see that there's actual demand and love for this shit. And there's also a lot of people that just don't give a fuck about having anything physically. But I also want to see something like make two different versions of the system. Have like the super deluxe pro version of the system where it's like this thing's capable of playing back all your physical discs of PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4. If it does that, and I know that would be some expensive shit.
Yeah, right.
If it's an option, people would still go gangbusters all over them. Like, here's your regular PlayStation 5. Here's the Supreme Overlord version that just like hovers above it, judging everybody.
The PS Extreme.
Dude, I'd be okay with that. Add as many X's as possible. Don't give a fuck. Need it.
To me, I'm just hoping for any backwards compatibility, even if it is just digital, even if it is just a thing where we're able to buy old games and it will emulate them. And it's just the stuff that was already on the PS3 store. I would be thrilled about that, because I'm the same way. A lot of those games were $5, $6, $10, and me paying $7 for Grandia to play it on my PlayStation 5, that's money well spent. Like being able to play like Breath of Fire. Like if I can have that stuff digitally, that's what I love. I also love the idea of just being able to have like 200 retro games on my console at once, because each one is so teeny tiny. And also I do like that I can give money to the original creators instead of just, you know, bootlegging it or shoving one of my physicals in there.
What all was there any old PS1 games that you actually picked up off of PSN at all for your PS3 or your Vita or anything?
I bought a lot, a lot, a lot. I mean, I had what I would do is I'd go through and buy on my PS Vita and on my PSP. I bought all the Final Fantasies, but also a lot of the really rare stuff like Misadventures of Tronbon. They put Misadventures of Tronbon on there digitally, which is like sometimes roughly a $200 game if you just want the disc. So when they sold that for $15, I was like, "Here's my credit card information." But yeah.
There's also been plenty of times where they had like absolute just great sales, and they're just like, oh yeah, most of these games are just like, you know, $2, $3 a piece.
Yeah.
And whenever I scooped up my Vita originally, and I've got one of the like original versions that they have with like the OLED screen.
Yep. So I have too.
Which is gorgeous looking, and the best part about it is the actual native resolution of PS1 games. The Vita screen is that doubled exactly. So
Really?
the minute that you go and like look at any of your PS1 games on one of the old school Vita screens, it is absolutely crisp as hell looking.
It is, yeah.
God, what was I playing? The last one that I was playing on there, I think, was the first Parasite Eve, and it was like night and day, dude.
I ended up buying a bunch of. It's really good for rare games. Like I really like a lot of the stuff. I'm obsessed with From Software. From Software was making very Dark Soulsy style games, even in the '90s. Like they have this game called Shadow Tower, and it's very difficult because the controls are so bad. But if you get it on PlayStation Vita, you can reprogram the controls. So I just reprogrammed it to play like a modern game. Like I made it have twin sticks and all my action buttons and not stupid places. And I just went around and punched a bunch of bats. And it's basically PlayStation 1 Dark Souls for $5.
Dude, they also had they had a lot of imports on there too, which that was something that I liked. I ended up getting I think the first one that I picked up was Harmful Park. Just because there's no way I'm gonna fucking pay that amount of money for Harmful Park. Like, it's a badass shooter and honestly like one of my favorites. But the amount of money that thing fucking demands, like most shoot 'em ups, shit ain't happening. And then there's Chobaniki. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's that real oddball one where you've got the dudes in speedos and everything's weird. Like it is.
Yeah, it's like muscle dudes flexing and shooting lasers out of the top of their heads.
Yeah. Like, you got dudes who are going around like this, and there's lasers shooting out the top of their head. You got like gigantic dudes like fucking heads and stuff that are spinning. It's just it is out of control. But Harmful Park is also really weird too. So the first things that I bought, I was like, I want 2 shooters that are just strange. Cool, thanks, Japan.
Well, I like to try and buy the stuff that's just really off the wall that you wouldn't want to track down, like Eric guys or whatever. You know, the King of the Ring. It's like the Final Fantasy VII fighting game. That stuff is so great, and that's kind of, it shows the importance of digital spaces. Like I like digital markets. A lot of people are like physical only games, but I think an unexpected advantage is a lot of times cheap digital games will bring down the physical cost. Like Legend of Dragoon for a while there was $30 to $50. Like if you wanted any copy of it, when they put that on the PlayStation 4 for $10, the price of that just plummeted. It was great.
Well, one of the things that made me hyped, and it bums me out because now it's gone, is Nintendo had the entire like virtual console scene going on. Dude, they had everything, just fucking everything. They're like, yeah, we got Neo Geo, we got NEC representing here. Oh, we got Sega Genesis, we got Nintendo Super, like anything and everything. It was like a fucking who's of the 80s and 90s. And I was like, this is amazing. And then they were just like, all right, on to Wii U. Now we've got way extremely like 1% less. And I was like, oh, that sucks. And they're like, here's the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, we're starting over again. I'm like, please quit fucking doing that. You're killing me. Like I'm dying. It just heartbreaking, man. So heartbreaking.
So in a chat, Jay Blue just said Switch NES service sucks so much, IMO. And yeah, Jay, I completely agree. That's kind of my thing is I wish that they just brought back the virtual console. I'm not like an entitled gamer. I'm not asking for this stuff for free. I'm just saying, give me the option to buy great games. Like seriously, right now, 100%, I would pay $15 to have Chrono Trigger on my Switch. It would look so good on that screen.
Now, there's a lot of games that I'd like to see them come back with because, most of the TG16 stuff I was all about because, one, I didn't grow up with one. I didn't end up having access to one until I think I was like in my early 20s. just because I'd never seen them around here. We didn't have them. And I think the very first game that I picked up off there was Devil's Crush.
Yep.
And
I love that one.
That's the soundtrack alone, absolutely worth it, just because it's like it's metal as fuck.
Surprisingly sharp physics too, for how like primitive it looks. So my true story, my dad found a TurboGrafx 16 in the trash when I was in middle school. And he brought it home and I was playing on it. And honestly, I thought it sucked because I had been playing so much PlayStation 1 during that time period. So to get a TurboGrafx 16, I was like, Dad, put this back in the trash. So I think we threw it away.
To think about some of the dumb shit we said when we were kids, and to go back and like with the time machine, most people were just like, oh man, you could stop so many of the different atrocities. So it's like, or I could go back and slap the shit out of myself for saying that one dumb thing.
Or it's like, man, I could have bought a lot of really cheap copies of Panzer Dragoon Saga. Where's my time machine?
The different clearance bins that had copies of Earthbound for like 5 bones. Like you were to go and slapping that down, and you're just like, wait a minute, a Lincoln just for like a copy of this? And it's like, yeah, they were just getting rid of them. It's like you could go out to like Ames, and you could go out to old Best Buy. You could go out to Hills, all sorts of different places. And they're like, yeah, get rid of this shit. We don't need this at all.
So real quick, I want to read this super chat. Mr. Pete, 1985, just donated $2 and said, if I could buy PS1 games on the PS4, I'd buy them. Exactly, Mr. Pete. Man, it's funny to think. So I own every Dreamcast game. And now that seems crazy. But at the time, I got them for dirt cheap because I was collecting as it was dead. Like in 2004, I went into a GameStop and they had a huge bin that was 2 for $5, and it had every Dreamcast game in it. So I literally just was filling up my arms of them, just buying. I think I just bought like $50 in games and walked home with a huge pile. And then I went back several more times and just bought it all. So it's just funny to think that like this stuff, it's funny to think all the stuff that we passed, all the deals we accidentally
forgot about. Say, like out of the Dreamcast games that you got, if you can remember off the top of your head, out of all the ones that you had gotten, are there any noteworthy ones that you got for an absolute ridiculous steal?
I mean, a lot. I mean, I got a lot of ones for just so cheap. The one that definitely comes to mind, though, is Skies of Arcadia for $12. I walked into a store in 2009, and it was a bookstore, and it said, check out our software department. And they had a single spinner rack of what just looked like demo discs for CDs. And I turned it around, and it said Skies of Arcadia, and it had a handwritten sticker that said $12 on it. And I was like, huh. I think this is one of the rarer ones, and I just picked it up and bought it. And now that game is like $150 to $200 if you have the box.
Fuck, that's, dude. My Dreamcast collection, at least like one fourth of it came from one person.
Same.
It was like the dude had said he wanted to get into anime a whole lot, and I had a shitload of anime DVDs. I had Tenchi Universe, I had Witch Hunter Robin, I had the entire Trigun series, I had all this shit, all these box sets. And I had already converted most of the stuff through my DVD burner way back in the day into just like video files, which I actually still have the OG video files even now. And he was like, I will trade you my Dreamcast collection for your anime collection. And I was just like, all right, let's see what you got. And I mean, it was fucking deep. It was so many games. I remember one of them off the top of my head was Spike Cannon. And I was like, And it was like all these things. I remember he had both Street Fighter 3s. He had Street Fighter Alpha 3. What else? He had Giga Wing 2. It was just like all this shit. And I'm like, man, I don't have like any of this stuff. Cool. Yeah, let's do that. And I traded it. And it's like I still got all the original copies sitting down there on the shelf, dude. It's just...
I had the exact same scenario. So what mine was basically I went to a party back when Halo was originally huge. We would have LAN parties all the time for Halo. All my friends were obsessed with it. And I went to this party. Everyone's like chilling. Some people are like underage drinking like cool kids. And this dude showed up with like bleach blonde hair way before that was cool, so it looked really weird. And this guy walked up, and I was playing the Game Boy Advance SP had just come out, and I was working a summer job, and I bought a GBA SP. I had like one of the first ones they ever sold, or you know, like one of the first weeks that they had them, and I was playing it, and I just wasn't super impressed. And this dude walked up and was like, "Whoa, I've never seen a Game Boy like that. I'll give you my Dreamcast collection for it." It was 125 games. Now, they were loose. He kept them in CD books, but I traded it for him. He gave me 125 Dreamcast games. So I got basically half of the entire American catalog for a freaking Game Boy Advance. I would make that trade a million times over. And what's funny is that I'm friends with that dude again today. I met him like 10 years later, and he's
Dude,
like,
that's a crackhead deal right there. Like that's a legitimate crackhead deal. Oh man, I'll just suck your dick for some Dreamcast games, man. Like,
please, man, just one more hit. But no, and so it's funny. He ended up getting every Dreamcast game as well. It turns out that he was like just as into it as I was. He just would rather suck dick. No, so it's cool, man. It's funny that like so many of us have that like first thing that gets you into the collection.
The only reason I ended up getting like a bunch more, like a whole bunch more, and I never find anything decent on Craigslist at all. There was a dude selling a bunch of stuff on Craigslist, and he sold me a ass ton of games, including like a handful of imports, like decent ones. And he was just like, I don't know, $50, dude. He was like, I don't care, because like he had found out that like I did YouTube and stuff, and this was before I even met him, and I didn't tell him about it. He just like looked it up, and because of my email and shit, and he was just like, it's gone to a good home. I don't really care. I was like, oh no, absolutely, dude. Like, and he absolutely fucking hooked it up. I was just like blown away, because it was like some of them are sealed. Like, I know that the one is like, I think NBA Hoops has like Shaquille O'Neal on like the cover of it holding a basketball and shit. And it's like sealed. I was just like, I'm probably not going to end up playing it anytime soon, but still kind of cool that I've got something that's like pseudo similar to NBA Jam. So yay.
So I had a time where, so basically the same bookstore where I found that copy of Skies of Arcadia years and years later, like 3 or 4 years later, I ended up getting a job at that bookstore and trying to really spruce up their software department and try and make like a video game corner. And one of the things they would do is Half Price Books. I'll go ahead and say the name. It was Half Price Books. So, you know, Half Price Books, they buy stuff from the community and they sell it for a profit. So like if they're selling selling something for $10, they pay somebody $3. So this dude was like, oh, hey, he came into the store one day and he's like, hey, can you help me bring in some stuff for my car? So I get a dolly and I follow him down there. And the back of his car is filled with PlayStation 1 games. Just every RPG, a mint condition copy of Final Fantasy VIII, Castlevania, sealed. And I'm like losing my mind. I mean, I'm just like, dude, this is so cool. And he turns to me and he goes, you guys pay shit. Like, you're not going to give me anything for this. Just take it. He's like, look, man, it's been sitting in the freaking attic forever. I don't give a crap about this stuff. I was just hoping somebody would enjoy it. And my boss said, all right, Max, just like go and put it in your cart. I won't tell anybody. And I did. So that day I got like 25 like super rare PS1 RPGs for free. And I was just like, ah!
See, I honestly wish, like, it's weird because since what do you call it? Since like game collecting is like a big thing nowadays.
Yeah.
Dude, it's hard as shit for most people to come across like deals, but most of the time I just tell people, like, if you really want to get into game collecting, just get shit from last generation.
Yeah.
Because it's like right now nobody's buying up Wii, PS3, and 360 games. No one gives a shit about them at all. But you can get them for like next to nothing, and that's what I did every single generation. That's how I got a hold of the stuff, because I come from a poor family. That's all I could actually afford, and then eventually it just like accumulated into an avalanche of plastic.
That's the way. So I own 120 original Xbox games, and I own 170 PS2 games, and I paid probably $1 or $2 for almost all of these, just because like it's just nobody cares about that generation right now, and those games are great. So if you're looking for like a good way to like build up your collection early on, yeah, just go for last gen. Get Xbox 360 stuff, get the original Xbox stuff. Like that stuff right now is valueless, despite the fact that it's great. The hardware is not hard to come by. You can get like an Xbox with HDMI cables for like $40.
Dude, I see PS3s, 360s, and Wii's at thrift stores all the time. Like, that shit is there all the time. I typically end up going and trying to find like the Model S 360s, just because obviously they'll hold up a whole lot better. And then with like Nintendo Wii's, I always go for like the older versions with the GameCube backwards compatibility. Even though a GameCube's obviously a lot better to have, but still, it's just like, if it doesn't cost much, fuck it. Like, I mean, if you're gonna play it, yay. Unless you're just gonna like let it sit and rot, then just like trade it for something you'd rather have.
Did you grab one of those GameCube HDMI adapters, the GCHD?
Yeah, dude, I saw a bunch of people making videos about that, and it was just like all over the place. I'm like, God damn, is it really even like that good? And I was actually talking to a couple buddies of mine, and I was like, oh shit, it actually is kind of decent.
Yeah.
And because I was looking to upgrade, I needed to upgrade my cables for my Sega Saturn. And then I was looking to, because I recently got a hold of, and it was for like $2 or $3, no less. I got the Microsoft versions of the component cables that they have for the OG Xbox.
Oh, nice.
Dude,
yeah.
They are rare as fuck, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was just like, God damn. I mean, it isn't as cool as like getting like the actual Nintendo brand game component cables or anything like that. But still, I was just like, I was kind of hyped about that. And then I'd seen this was out, and like all the different tech channels that I watched, they spoke extremely highly of it. And I was like, all right, fuck it. So I scooped up one of those, and I think, God, what did I play first? I played F-Zero GX and Wave Race Blue Storm. Because I'm trying to find like anything with progressive scan just to see like how decent it looks, and then was testing out with Elgato and shit. But no, it does make a big ass difference, and it's nice to actually play it on a bigger TV rather than like my shitty little tube television, which isn't that good.
Well, and it's impressive that it doesn't darken the image, because that's something that I feel like a lot of people don't realize is some of these HDification processes sort of like lower the image quality, so you end up having a little bit of a darker picture. The GCHD doesn't do that at all. I actually beat Resident Evil 4 with that, and it's just super clean. I mean, it almost looks like the PS4 version.
I ended up like doing a lot of different upgrades, because I've had systems for the longest time, but all I've got is like basic composite cables for a ton of the shit. And obviously like things have progressed far past that. And so that's why I was like, I got a oh my god, what the fuck did they call it? Not the FrameMeister, the OSCC. I think that's what it's called. But I ended up scooping up one of those just because I want to have like a lot better of a video signal for my older systems. So I was hooking up things like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, because they have like line doubling and tripling and quadrupling and shit. And it looks a million times better, especially it's like component to that hooked up onto like a 65-inch screen. It's nice.
Yeah, man, I love all that stuff. I love that we're in a time period now where a lot of this tech is so easy. Like the pound cables, there's like a $20 options. There's like a $20 HDMI cable for Dreamcast now. It's not as good as the $100 one, but it's still cool that you can even like plug that in and plug it directly into your HD TV now and have a pretty freaking good quality image. I want to talk to you a little bit about horror, just because you and I are such horror fanatics. I don't know, just anything about it. Resident Evil, Silent Hill, like what's some of the series from current times that you love and from the past?
Shit, there's actually, I don't know if you got to see the what do you call it? There's actually like this thing going around on Twitter where it's like your 4 favorite games.
I saw yours, yeah.
Okay, so with that. And dude, I just went with the first 4 things that came to mind, because I sat there debating and arguing with myself. I'm like, well, what about this? What about this? And 2 of the games on there are survival horror, and that's Silent Hill 2 and the Resident Evil 2 remake. Which, like, dude, the Resident Evil 2 remake, because I mean, you were mentioning it earlier. Goddamn, it just, for me, the RE2 remake did what none of the other games in the series ever since 4 have been capable of doing, and that was merging and gelling together old Resident Evil and new Resident Evil into like one of the best experiences that basically like old school fans and new fans could appreciate and get into. And it took arguably like the best entry in the series, in my opinion, and like one of the best fucking survival horror games in general.
Yeah, easily.
And actually did it justice. Built upon the foundation, the blueprint that it had, and then blew that shit up even further. And it was like, when it was being played, it was inescapable. There was no corner of the internet that you were going to go to. You did not hear people talking about the stuff, raving about it, and it's just, goddamn, man, it was so awesome. Like, it seriously is. I love that game to death. I know that that's something that you've said countless times that you've really been into.
Well, it's funny because it does the impossible, which is typically in horror games. I like to study like how horror works, and normally the way it works is you reduce power to increase fear. Like you make somebody a weak ass, like the dude in Silent Hill 1 or Silent Hill 2, where you're walking around with a stick, and it makes everything scarier because everything feels more dangerous. And as you give people more power, typically the fear goes down. That's why Resident Evil 4 isn't as scary, because now you have shotguns and stuff, and you can shoot really well. That game actually manages to do both, where you have really good aiming and you have a lot of ammo, but shit's so strong you are still scared. That's so freaking hard to pull off, and they did it.
Dude, it's the worst thing is when you're sitting here like headshot and they just reel back and it's like, nope. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I totally shot you. And it's like, And I loved it because they put so much emphasis on actual like damage impact and gore. You're shooting chunks off of them. You're shooting actual like appendages off of them. And that was something like, you know, some people could say, okay, well, gore isn't actually necessary for something to be a good horror game. That's really true, but it sure as shit helps. It helps a lot because it kind of gets you like deeper into, this thing was once human. It is rotting from the inside, and it's just hungry for brains and flesh, and it is coming for you because you're a fucking snack.
So, something I love the most about that was how the enemies could sometimes lay on the ground for a minute, where you shoot them a bunch of times and they fall over and you're like, all right, it's dead. And then it starts getting back up. I like the idea of like the unstoppable force, where it's like these things don't care. They don't feel pain. They don't even hate you. They're just hungry. And I feel like the Resident Evil 2 remake did that in a way that stuck with me. Like I beat that game like 10 times the opening weekend. My friends all came in from out of town and I literally just beat it for them like a 2-hour-long movie. And everybody was just freaked out by Mr. X and stuff. And I was like, man, I cannot believe they did this so good. I want to see him do it with 3 ASAP.
I love experiences like that where you can actually have friends over and everybody gets to watch and like participate or whatever and get into it, because that's what I did with the original Resident Evil 2. Like my friends didn't have it. I ended up getting it first. Like I got that shit immediately. And I remember us all hovering around. And, you know, at the time, all that was really out was magazines. Yep. So, you know, that's all you had to mess with outside of, like, the demo that they had with Director's Cut. And we saw the cut scenes and stuff, and we were like, oh, my God, that's so amazing. It looks like real life. Now we go back and watch it, and it's like weird fucking melted mannequins who are moving around. They look like crayons and shit. Yeah. And it's, like, it's laughable. And then you see this, and it's weird because I still remember thinking to myself, like, man, I can't wait until games look exactly like this. That's going to be this shit. And now we have games that look a million times better. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's okay, I guess. That's all right. I'm spoiled.
I'll be honest, I've had a fantasy many times about if I had a time machine, I would love to take a PlayStation 4 back in time and show it to somebody. Oh, I'm having sirens here. But I would love to be able to go back and go to Sega headquarters while they were building the Dreamcast and show them like PlayStation 4 graphics or something. And be like, all right, I'll leave this here. Like, just make this the Dreamcast instead.
Dude, okay, for you, what would you say is, it doesn't necessarily have to be your all-time favorite moment, but one of your standout moments from playing through the Resident Evil 2 remake?
There's so many. I think the one that I like the most is the one time I felt lost, which is when you leave the back of the police station and you actually go out into the streets of Resident Evil for the first time, and it's just raining and there's not really any zombies around. There's just like a bunch of soaked cop cars. You see like the Kendo gun shop, and you finally have, for the first like hour of the game, you have a second to catch your breath, and it freaks you out so much more when you realize like everybody's dead. Like everybody else who tried to live in this entire town has failed, and I'm probably going to do it too. I love that moment.
Now, I think that they managed to capture like actual despair.
Yes.
Like, And the thing is, I also like that it goes back to you being by yourself, because you being alone and like the actual loneliness settling in, in between like segments and like cutscenes where you meet up with somebody, it's momentary, then you split off again because I mean that's how it's dictated. But when I'm running around in like any of the other games and I have somebody there, it like I know I can rely on them. I know that one of them can come over and help me up when I get all fucked up, or they can be popping off rounds and keeping somebody off my back. I didn't want that. Like I wanted to legitimately suffer throughout the entire duration of the game, because to me that was just a whole lot more. I mean, the moment that I got to the actual police station, for the first, I'd say maybe like 20 minutes of it, that was probably the best experience for me, because that was like the very first moment that it all just came flooding back. And just like getting to walk around and you see Marvin's all fucked up. You see the one cop that it's legitimately split in half, and it's just guts poured out all over the place. The one zombie cop that you go over to, and you see that like the actual RE engine is no slouch, no joke at all. And you pull the head back, and it's like its face just falls apart. And me being like somebody who appreciates gore to the point that I'm like, Dead Alive is like one of the best movies ever. When I see stuff like this, I'm just like, more of this, please. I need that. And they actually like encapsulated moments like that I remember it long after. I played plenty of games that like I play it and I liked it a lot, but I don't remember things like that nearly as much. Like it does not stick inside my brain. And this wasn't just nostalgia. Like if I just played that game brand new, like if they called it something entirely different, like Super Scary Zombies in Pennsylvania V2, and I played that, I'd be like, no, this was like some of the best shit ever. But the idea that this had to go and follow up something that I have the highest expectations of, and it managed to meet them, then exceed them, amazing.
It really made me want... So the darkness, I feel like the way they use darkness in the Resident Evil 2 remake is so smart, where like the darkness never feels like a wall. It's something you have to swim through. Like, I have no idea what's going on. The power's out in this whole building, so I have to go over here and solve these puzzles in the dark. It's such a good tool. It really made me want a remake of Silent Hill 1, because Silent Hill 1 is
we technically got one. We technically got one, and I fucking hate that game.
Dude, I actually like it. I do, seriously.
I appreciated some of the things that they tried to do in it, when they were just like, okay, we're going to make some of the things in it matter, where it's like, when you're sitting down with the psychiatrist and shit, and it's like, depending on what you answer, things will change and shit. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. But the way that they try to represent certain things about your character and how that's manifested within the world of Silent Hill, how that changes certain things, I didn't feel that it was scary at all.
Oh yeah, like, it's not.
It just, I don't know. Like, I think because I love 1 so much, I'm like, to me, Silent Hill 2 is like the pinnacle of the series, and everybody can debate and argue about that. But I've gone through 2 with like a fine-tooth comb, to the point that like I was trying to understand, debate, and argue the most intricate of tiny, subtle like nuances and details and references that are made in it, to just understand the world that they crafted.
Yeah.
And I felt like everything past 4 didn't understand that. And I felt like the remake, while it might be a decent standalone horror game, still didn't understand what made the first game special. And just, I don't know.
The biggest problem with it, so I enjoyed it a lot, but I definitely think the biggest problem is the fact that the monsters only show up when you're in those frozen areas. Like, it basically tells you, here's the scary parts, here's the not scary parts. And I feel like part of what makes Silent Hill particularly terrifying is that all the rules are off the table. Like, this is demons and shit. Like, anything is allowed. Like, this is like when we were playing, me and my buddy were really into Silent Hill 1, and we played it a bunch of times over, and he ended up learning a bunch of piano because he liked the puzzle where you actually use the bloody keys to play a song. And he liked that so much, he ended up learning some piano so he could make like Silent Hill songs and stuff. And it's like, that's a testament to a good horror game, is when the world seems believable enough that you feel like you could beat it in real life, so to speak. And Shattered Memories definitely doesn't do that.
Yeah, I would kill to just see Team Silent return one more time, just once. I would seriously like, even if they said, well, the game costs triple the amount to go and make up for all, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. Just one more go around, because it's like, for whatever reason, the fact that they were kind of like misfits within the offices of Konami, and they were left to their own devices to go and create the very first Silent Hill game, and they didn't have anybody lording over them.
Mhm.
And they actually had way less resources than the vast majority of people there at their headquarters.
Mhm.
And they tapped into all sorts of different things, worked their asses off. The one dude didn't even get credited for a ton of different shit, which I thought was absolutely fucked up. And it's just like, what they managed to pull off, given that their backs were against the wall and nobody had any faith in them. And they actually, like, they changed gaming.
They
People
did,
were just
yeah.
like, oh man, Resident Evil is like the creme de la creme of survival horror. Silent Hill comes along and it's like, we're going to give you psychological horror, and
Yeah.
we're going to fuck you up. And they did, and it went beyond like the expanses of gaming, and went into like cinema and comics and all
Comics,
sorts
yeah.
of stuff.
I own all the Silent Hill comics. They are messed up. I love them a lot. And I feel like it was really interesting to see, like, Resident Evil was taking over survival horror at that time. It was so huge. So it's super interesting to see, like, the guts of this real small team to step out and say, okay, our story isn't going to explain the science and biology of zombies, but instead we have a little town called Silent Hill that's really creepy. Like, I hope you enjoy it. And I thought there was like kind of a humbleness to Silent Hill. And I feel like they managed to keep that for a long time. I mean, I'll even actually go so far as to say I really thought that Silent Hill 4 actually kept that focus. Like 1, 2, and 3 are obviously better, but I still think that even in Silent Hill 4, they still managed to just keep this super tight vision of being like, all right, we just want to keep you scared for the entire 10 hours. All right, let's wrap this up here in about 9 minutes. So, any final topics you want to talk about?
Shit, whatever you want. Your show.
Let me hear your thoughts about the Xbox One and a possible Xbox 2, because we talked a little bit about PlayStation 5, and I know to you and I, backwards compatibility is really huge. And already with Project Scarlet, they're saying this will be 4 generations of gaming. So it sounds like it's going to have even more backwards compatibility.
I'm hoping that they stay true to that. The unfortunate truth of the matter is, despite the fact that there's plenty of people that are like us, and probably plenty of people who are here watching live and listening, that absolutely love the idea of being able to play past software on new hardware, so that shit continues to live on. Pretty much what we were talking about earlier. But whenever they brought up the statistics and stats of people who own Xbox Ones and were playing 360 games and playing original Xbox games, the stats for it were so low.
Yeah.
Like, ridiculously low. But if you go online, it's like people are just absolutely like over the moon about it and loving it. So it's one of those things, like, I hope that they don't have a limited software catalog for it, where it's just like, hey, next month we'll bring out 10 more games so I'll be compatible. And I know that that's like by the game basis, but I hope that they have like some kind of an emulator in place that's completely compatible with all this stuff, that's capable of going and running this, or like the architecture is just like smart enough to be able to pretend in a way like, oh yeah, I'm a 360, oh yeah, I'm an OG Xbox, and all that shit.
The way we can play all. There's so many.
I really want that.
There's so many rare, really good games that I want to see. Like Phantom Dust, like obviously Phantom Dust exists on Xbox One now, but for a long time, you just had to play that on an OG Xbox because it was actually glitchy if you played it on a 360. I guess in general, my thing is I hope it seems like the numbers are skewed. What I'm trying to get at is I feel like when they say like 5% of people used backwards compatibility, I feel like that's a little bit weird because it's like, okay, most of the people who probably own an Xbox One are gamer bros who want to play like FIFA and Call of Duty. Like those people being lumped into the gamer demographic feels weird sometimes because it's like collectors aren't everybody. Even 5% is still millions and millions of people playing backwards compatibility. I don't know. I just want to make sure that this stuff gets properly utilized. I would love if it seems like Microsoft is spending the money to get tons of backwards compatibility. It seems like they're spending the money to keep Games Pass actually
I mean,
impressive.
if this is something that they're going to have like a big focus on, because I know at the one E3 they made a big deal about it, and they talked it up, which I was happy about, and they put all this emphasis on it, and then with Project Scarlet they did the same exact thing again, where they were putting emphasis on this, and to me that's good and that's important. If this is going to be like their ace in the hole or their one thing that they have that kind of sets them apart, by all means run with it. But it kind of sucks because like we were talking about Nintendo right now with the Switch, we can't play all our past games on there.
Yep.
That sucks. PlayStation 4, you have fuck all. Like you really do. You've got fuck all with the exception of if you've got like PlayStation Now, you can play some PS3 games on there. Yay, I guess.
And credit where it's due, PlayStation Now is better than it used to be. It used to be garbage. Now it's decent, but yeah, it's still such a sporadic catalog.
Yeah, I just want to see like the companies kind of get their shit together, because to me it's weird, especially with Sony, because they've kind of had this mentality. Like I forgot who it was. It was one of their higher ups that they have in the company, but he was saying, "Oh yeah, nobody wants these old PlayStation 1 games. These look like shit, and nobody's interested in this stuff. It's ugly, blah blah blah, and everybody wants to play all the new shit." Well, here's the thing. Like, people do want to play the new shit, but don't act like these games suddenly just aren't worth it. Like, to me, it's such a foolish thing to discredit past games. It's like that'd be the equivalent of doing it with old books, music, movies. Like anything with any kind of medium within the entertainment world. If you just had the mentality of, well, if it didn't come out in the past couple of years, it must be shit.
Yeah.
You would be left with like the most garbage ass like things available to you.
Do you know anything about World of Warcraft? Did you ever play World of Warcraft?
Dude, I played that shit back in vanilla up to Burning Crusade, and then that was it. And everything else, like my ex-girlfriend, she was really big into it, and my other ex-girlfriend was really big into it, so I only know it through them talking.
Tangentially. Well, there was a big thing in the community where a lot of people loved vanilla so much they've been begging Blizzard to bring it back, and there was a very famous statement where somebody actually there was like a BlizzCon Q&A, and the head of World of Warcraft at Blizzard was on stage, and someone came up and was like, "Can you make like a classic server so we can play like the original version of the game?" And his statement, like his official statement, was, "You think you want that, but you don't." And everybody got so mad at them. Like, there are millions and millions of us offering you a monthly fee to bring back your already existing code. And now they're bringing back World of Warcraft Classic. And so a bunch of people are like making giant paintings and stuff that says, "You think you want that, but you don't." It's like, I think we do.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. Anybody who is, I don't know, I guess blind and ignorant enough to think that what is out now and what will be coming out is the only things that matter, to me means that you don't respect what got you to the dance at all, and you don't appreciate what the hell. Like, look, and like I've my own son, my nephews, my niece, I've had them all sit down with older shit before. They've enjoyed it. Like, some things might age bad, but that doesn't mean like it's not nearly as fun. And some things age remarkably well. Mm-hmm. And if we just decided, oh yeah, nah, kill that shit off, it's old, again, you'd be missing out on a world of amazing things.
Yeah, I mean, that's the number one reason I don't like the idea of Google Stadia, is that I'm self-aware enough to realize that the streaming is the future, that unfortunately everything will be in the cloud in the next couple of years, but I still don't like the idea of when a game stops being popular, somebody can just flip a switch and it stops existing. Like, imagine if retro gaming was gone because it was on a server and somebody didn't want to pay that monthly fee. It's definitely not a fun thought.
Stadia does absolutely nothing for me. I don't mind game streaming being an option, but being the mandatory exclusive way that you actually experience the games, I'm good on that shit.
Yeah. All right, well, let's do some outros. Are you gonna do any? Do you have any upcoming projects you want to hype up? I see people in chat saying Alpha doesn't even make videos. When's he making his next video? So when's your next video, Alpha?
Well, I mean, my last videos are like 2 weeks old, so ones which will be kind of neat. Just a really goofy shit with like in-game video, like in-game advertising, and some other just like ridiculous shit. I don't know, just stuff that I've kind of been writing about. I've got actual videos that have been written down since 2012, and they've been on hard drives and flash drives, just kind of sitting there rotting. And I'm like, you know what? Whenever I return, I'm gonna go and work on those. So I did the 2 E3 videos, and now I'm trying to go and bang this shit. I haven't been home for like 2 weeks, so that's why I haven't been able to get any videos done. That's actually what I was talking about before we went live. Like, I literally have not been home like at all, so it's been annoying.
If there's anything I can do to help, serious offer. If you need somebody to, I don't know, help you record some footage or do some voiceover or whatever, seriously, just let me know. I love your work. Honestly, I genuinely love your work. I think a lot of us do. So I just wanted to extend the love to you personally, man. Seriously, we're just happy that you're back, even if it is in a limited capacity.
Yeah, it's, well, no, I definitely, I appreciate that too. It's just, like, life has been like overly busy, but doing like 12 to 15 hour shifts unexpectedly out of nowhere, and it's just like an absolutely ridiculous amount of travel has been involved. So now it's like, yesterday was my first day off, and I had to just catch up with bills and doing stuff around the house, and then today is the 4th of July, so then that was family related stuff, and even after this I have to go drive up to a friend's house and barbecue, and we're getting ready to do some art shit for some upcoming little art show thing that's got, it's, shit doesn't stop, man.
Dude, trust me, I know. You know, I do a lot of reviews. Reviews eat up, like, every review video takes 30 to 40 hours to make. So it means that every week I'm having like so much focused, dedicated time at just sitting there. Like, everything takes time.
And that's in between you doing all of the other videos of like, here's what's going on in the news and shit, and here's just random things I want to go and discuss for shits and giggles.
Exactly. Basically, I'm saying YouTubers don't sleep. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into Dreamcast Episode 3. Giant, super special thank you to AlphaOmegaSin. I literally dropped this on him pretty last minute, and he made time. So seriously, man, I cannot thank you enough. And thank you, everybody, for watching.